What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Three Pyramids Network. And today we are checking out it's over for YouTube, just demonetized all AI faceless channels. Do I believe that? No. But I'm not here to be like yay or nay. I'm here to get the information and let me stop talking. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Oh, also there is a thing called the super hype button. If you would be so kind, I know you have a lot of other individuals that you would love or that you give your super hypes to, but if you would love to get to help me out, it will help me out in algorithms. I really much appreciate it.
YouTube has finally done it. They've
Comment
completely
also.
demonetized and even banned
Yeah.
almost all AI YouTube channels. It's going to be complete Armageddon. Everyone's freaking out on Twitter, and I'm going to show you in a second. And in a few weeks, I imagine YouTube is just going to be a complete ghost town. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through exactly
What?
who's been affected, why I think they've been affected, and what I think YouTube is using to calculate whether they think a channel is mass AI slop production. I'm also going to show you what I've done in response to this with some of my channels, and what I think you guys should actually do to protect yourselves from this as well. Okay, let's get into this, because this is pretty crazy. So, as you can see, I have a massively long Twitter feed here of many people complaining and screenshotting what's happened to them and ranting and speculating. So, as you can see here, we can say one that says they've been demonetized for inauthentic content that appears mass-produced or repetitive to increase views without adding significant educational value. That's interesting. This is basically the terminology that was in the July 2025 update, which was actually about repetitive content. This new inauthentic content is a new phrase. So really nothing has changed in terms of the policy that's been in place for 6 months. It's just YouTube have clearly now implemented a system that actually can detect this and then kill channels like very quickly. The other interesting part of this is the phrase without adding significant educational value or other value. The way I see it, there's really two or three types of value, right? You have educational value, you have entertainment value. And entertainment can be split up into whatever you want, like where it's comedic, sad, angry, just triggering emotions, whatever. So if you add real educational value, then maybe your channel isn't at risk of demonetization. I think it's actually more complicated than that, which we'll get to it in a minute. But just to touch on this idea of educational value, I think how YouTube's detecting that is they're looking at videos and saying, is this creator using very vague statements in their videos? A vague statement is where you describe something, but then you don't go in depth. There's like no real nuance. There's no facts. There's no figures. It's not a real personal anecdote.
Correct.
It's just like superfluous fluff. Another word or phrase for that is it's axiomatically null, and there's just nothing. There's nothing there. That's where that comes from. And if we look down here, it's pretty scary. If you don't successfully appeal your suspension for this channel, any other channels you may operate are also at risk of suspension from YPP.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's terrifying. You might think, oh, YouTube's just trying to scare me to have good behavior. Surely they're not implementing that, really. Actually, if we go down here to this guy, you'll see that they actually are. Suspended due to related channel. Now, that's really scary. This is what made me take some really extreme actions with my backlog of over 20 monetized YouTube channels and what I've done. And I'll get into that.
Jesus, 20?
It's pretty intense. If we keep going
Brother, help me out.
You feel me? Creators have commented on it. People who run, big YouTube automation channels and all that kind of stuff. Some people are saying that their channel has really high editing, like this guy here, loads of editing, still images, blah, 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 and still got taken down. So YouTube's being pretty strict about it, clearly. So clearly it's not just, oh, what's the editing look like? There's more to it than that again. A channel you guys are probably all familiar with is World War II Tales, which went viral a few months ago for basically creating AI slop that did hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. It was crazy. Good for him, but like if we just
smart as shit.
He's complaining that his channel was demonetized for inauthentic content, and he completely disagrees with it because he hasn't uploaded clickbait, recycled, or unverified history. Now, in a sense, some of that may be true. Like it might not be unverified. Like he might be using real data and real quotes, or real archival history. But the recycled bit is questionable because it's probably all over the internet. Where has he found this information from? So I guess it is recycled. And if we talk this idea of clickbait, if we read some of these, I think they are. Like, where is the evidence that German generals were laughing at US logistics? Where is the evidence that German pilots laughed at the P-47? Like, where is the evidence for this? Like, it's hyperbolic, right? This guy really isn't happy. He thinks his videos are well written, and I'm just going to tell you now, like, it's obviously AI slop, right? If we click on one of these videos and we see what's going on here, there's a AI voiceover, there's a still image, and these images hold on screen for many minutes. If you see me scrolling along the timeline here, It changes after a few minutes here. What was that? 2 or
After
3
6
minutes.
minutes?
There's another
You
image.
said 2 or 3. Fool, that said 6.
And then we scroll again. 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, and then the image changes, right? So across this video, there's maybe 15 different images. From YouTube's perspective, that's clearly mass production, or a mass production strategy. And so if we get into this in a little bit more nuance, why do I think this channel got demonetized? YouTube is looking at a lot of different factors here. So just to ping off what some of the things that I think it's looking at.
Listening.
It's looking at unauthorized content, so that could be you being really hyperbolic and showing graphical things that you shouldn't, like nudity or extreme violence. I think there's upload volume. So if we look at World War II Tales, okay, to be fair, they've cleansed their YouTube because of this issue, but like they were uploading more than daily before this issue occurred. And at that time, you know, if you're uploading daily hour-long videos that are huge deep dives, YouTube's kind of sat there thinking, well, how is that possible? How can a person possibly produce in-depth research every day and make it an hour-long video? That just seems really unrealistic. Then what's happening is they're looking at that upload volume and that video length. Then they're also looking at title frameworks. So what World War II Tales does is it has this very clear title structure where it says German pilots or German something, and then until
Japanese
and
pilots,
else, right? So
German
this sort
pilots.
of counter framing in the title frameworks, he's doing in almost every single video, and YouTube's picking up on that, and they're thinking, oh, there's a really repetitive pattern here. This might be mass-produced. A more clear example of that is if you think of videos like every something explained in something minutes, right? And you do that for 50 videos in a row, YouTube's going, that's the same title over and over again, this must be spam, even if the content itself is different. So what else is happening here? They're probably also looking at thumbnail copy pasting. Now, this channel isn't really a big culprit for that, but you can imagine you've seen loads of channels where they just copy paste thumbnails all the time, and that's a huge problem. The script structure and wording is actually a really big factor here, because Gemini has become pretty good at detecting whether a script is AI or not. I'll show some examples on screen now.
Really?
I pasted some scripts which are basic from basic AI prompting.
Holy
really high percentages of AI detection. And it takes a lot of effort and really skilled prompting in order to get that detection level down. So you'll see in these videos from the transcript that they always start with the date, and then it goes into some background, blah, 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 blah. And if we go to another video, you'll find that this video also starts with the date, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. So it's a repetitive structure, and it's really easy for Gemini to scan and go, yep, that's clearly a repetitive structure. This is probably mass-produced. Now, obviously, some YouTubers have habits. They like to introduce things in similar ways. But what Gemini is doing is it's going through the whole video and seeing not just the basic structure.
I was going to say, yeah, because my videos for my gaming channel,
from one sentence to another.
I kind of say the same thing every time.
Are there repeated concepts? Like,
yeah, I kind of say the same thing every time.
The idea. So, like, are there 57 rhetorical questions? It's basically looking for all of these signs that AI writing is known for, and then saying, okay, there's a high probability that this script is AI automated. So then it's thinking, well, if the script is AI automated, is the voiceover also AI automated? Now, this is way more complicated to process because text processing is way, way easier than voice. Yeah. But there's probably a component of both going on. So that's what's happening on the front end that you can see as a viewer. But on the back end, there's also that kind of idea of like the YouTube trust score. And I think there's never been more evidence for this than now because of what I've seen happening, right? So some channels in specific niches have been demonetized in bulk. And then other channels in the same niche who seemingly have the same formula, they have the same sort of packaging, they have the same writing style, and for whatever reason, they're not getting demonetized. And what I've seen from discussing it with some of my clients and people in my school community and comparing that to some of my own channels and other channels on YouTube is that my channels seem to be okay. And that's interesting because my AdSense account is 8 or 9 years old, my emails are all really old, I've been doing YouTube for a long time, so YouTube probably just trusts me in general. Whereas some other people who have channels really similar to mine are getting demonetized. So
because they're newer.
There are a number of factors at play here. So YouTube is enforcing this inauthentic content policy for 3 reasons. Firstly, it's costing YouTube a ton of money to deal with all of the AI slop that's being uploaded in mass. And when I say money, I mean server costs to host videos that get 0 views, but they're all 3 hours long. So it's really cost ineffective. It's also bad for the environment. But honestly, I'm not sure if YouTube care about that. The second reason is because maybe, just maybe, YouTube cares about their viewers. And they've realized that many of these AI slop channels, which are hyperbolic in terms of news and politics, are actually scaring and fear-mongering towards old people. I have old people in my life who maybe aren't up to speed with the current technological trends, so when they watch a YouTube video of a guy in a lab coat telling you about the latest health tips, they think that's the equivalent of BBC or CNN, when in fact it's all AI slop. So maybe YouTube is trying to protect those people. And the third reason is because a lot of these channels are designed to be played while people are asleep, and YouTube has had a hard time detecting that in the past, and they're still playing ads on it, which means that advertisers are losing a ton of money, and they're not happy, and so therefore neither is YouTube. As I said earlier, what am I doing with my channels in particular? So I have 20 plus YouTube channels going back to like 2018. I've done all kinds of content. I started a bit sloppy, and then things improved over time, and now most of my channels are high quality, but sometimes I make case studies and, examples for you guys, and those channels can be relatively simple, and some of them would probably be exposed to this new policy change. So what I did is I went through the backlog of like 20 plus channels, and I deleted all of the videos across all of the ones that I thought were even slightly at risk of hitting this new policy. So that was a really extreme action, but from my viewpoint, it's not really worth getting all of my channels demonetized or even shadow banned by YouTube, because that has a huge impact on my business of growing.
So I ain't gonna lie to you. I do think
so that's what I've done.
my channel,
And now
one of
I'm just
my
doubling
channels
down
has
on
been
those
shadow
high-quality
banned.
channels where I have really high production quality, where the script
I
writing
know.
is either 100% authentic or it's only AI assisted slightly, and you can't tell when you submit it to Gemini that it's got any AI involvement to it. I'm also only launching channels where it's got real voiceover. Some of them are mine, some of them are other people's. Again, because I'm just suspicious that maybe YouTube is using that as a detecting factor, which is kind of ironic and a bit hypocritical considering that YouTube produces tools which allow you to AI scripts write and create AI voiceovers. So it's a bit weird, but whatever. So that brings me to what should you guys do to make sure that your channels aren't at risk? So there are a few different angles here. And going back to the computer, I would say that
they've
if
been
your
they always
existing
switch up
channels
every
are
year,
already
but damn.
monetized, and you think that some of those channels may be at risk, just don't take the risk. Just delete all those videos, re-strategize for those channels, and either start again on those channels or just throw them to the wayside and move on. But if you're most likely just starting your channel and you're like, oh, I'm really scared, I've just started making these YouTube videos and now I'm being told that it's going to get killed for inauthentic content within like 2 weeks, so what's the point? What I would say then is you need to pivot your script writing workflow. Now, I'm going to make a really long, extensive video deep dive on this, on how to do this in my school community, but at a high level, this is essentially what I think you should do. 1, use Claude Opus 4.5, don't use ChatGPT, and don't use Gemini, because those two tools are really locked in and sort of hard-coded on the back end of their writing style, which Google and OpenAI have put into place. Whereas with Claude Opus 4.5, you can kind of play around with it and manipulate it a little bit to seem a little bit more natural. So that's the first thing. The second thing is include in your prompts when you're script writing AI behavior removal. That's all of the little habits that AI always uses, like the power of 3, rhetorical questions, antithesis, and things like that. And the final thing is, if you're training your custom GPT on a JSON structure, say a JSON structure that summarizes the writing style, this is something that was popularized like 1 or 2 years ago. There was a huge Twitter thread of a guy who was in like the why it sucks niche, who was telling you like how to emulate the writing style, and he was onto something. But the problem is that when you summarize a transcript, you're only getting the general concept of what that writing style is. So it's really hard for AI to replicate it from that. So what you need to do is just upload loads of raw, real speech into the AI. So whatever channel or person that you're trying to emulate voice-wise, if it's yourself, then copy yourself, then upload loads of transcripts in order to give it enough information. Moving on, though, the next thing that you should do is don't repeat title frameworks too much. So if you have 3 or 4 really good viral title frameworks, always mix them up one video to the next and start integrating new ones over time. And sometimes don't even use title frameworks, just kind of come up with something totally random. Because it seems like what YouTube's doing is it's categorizing niches together with multiple channels and then identifying they're all really similar. Therefore, there's a really high probability that they're all kind of mass-produced, and therefore YouTube might think about demonetizing it. The next thing is varying your thumbnail structure, objects, and captions. So thumbnail structure being all of the little places where things are on screen, the objects being the things on screen themselves, and the caption being, if you're going to have any words on there, make sure that changes from one video to the next, and make sure that it's not something really hyperbolic. So one of the things that I've noticed is that the channels that are most likely to get demonetized are the ones that take this to the extreme. So they have loads of these compounding factors which suggest AI, and on top of that, they're doing things like they're lying to their audience. They're doing hyperbolic clickbait titles. They're
That's what
saying
I was trying to figure
last
out if it
night
was what he was
300
talking about.
nukes landed in Russia, and that kind of
Yeah,
silly nonsense.
over
And it's like, that's obviously fake.
what's the
YouTube
word I'm
doesn't
looking
like
for?
that. So that's
Centralized.
a really high risk.
Yeah.
So I would call that like a tier 1.
I feel stupid.
Risk. Tier 2
the
is
word just
probably
left
the
my brain.
Tails example, where it's clearly AI and mass produced, but they're not doing crazy over the top extreme claims all of the time. And then tier 3 under that, I would probably say is things like nostalgia.
That's on the tip of my tongue too.
Titles do vary a lot, but the underlying writing does feel relatively prescriptive and like AI. Now, because of YouTube's new inauthentic content policy, which I kind of agree with, I have spent the last 9 or 10 hours figuring out if it's actually possible to chain prompt Claude and give it enough information so that you can create scripts that are not detectable as AI when you submit them to Gemini. And I've actually done that. The first script that I submitted was like 92% AI detected, and the last one I submitted was only 10%. So it turns out that it's possible.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to teach this strategy on a live call in the next couple of weeks, one on the 17th of January and another one on the 24th of January over in my school community. And the point of this technique
that's dope.
Is not to mass produce AI slop. The idea...
All right, so YouTube is cracking down. A bunch of AI stuff is going to be minimized because I ain't going to lie to you. Instagram, boy, Instagram is a mug right now with that AI stuff. There's like the little AI videos. Some of them shits is dope as hell though. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, all that being said, love each and every last one of y'all, man. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. The ignorant, eclectic, mad genius is out. Until the next one. Peace.